Welcome, everybody, to Off the Cuff. I am Adam Banks. Thank you for listening to the show, coming at you live from Studio 9305 here in Lexington, Kentucky. And I am, for the first time, using a new microphone for the show. I wish you could see it. It looks very professional. And even though it has no substance to you guys, because you guys can't see it, hopefully I sound better using this microphone. I got it off of Amazon, and the producer of the show has been looking for new stuff for me to use, and this microphone is something that he recommended, and I'm just going to try it out. He said that the main thing that this thing does is condenses my voice, so it's going to kind of take out the muffling that you're probably used to hearing in the other podcast, but we'll see. We'll go back, listen to it. If this don't work, we'll go back to the old stuff, but this is a new microphone that I'm using. We are in the midst of March Madness, folks. College basketball. It's been a little mediocre this year. In the first round, there was really no upsets. The second round, that was a different story. There was a lot of upsets in the second round, but really nothing too surprising. There's really not been any Cinderella team to go out there and surprise people like in the past. But I want to do a podcast in the midst of all the madness, kind of a timeout from the March Madness, because I usually, every year when I do these March Madness series, I always have a pre-March Madness show with Ryan Mullins, but he got sick this year. He ended up getting a 24-hour virus on the day that we were supposed to do the show, so he couldn't do it. So we just didn't do that episode. So in order to replace that episode, I'm just going to do it solo and just kind of talk about the things that's been going on in the midst of all of this madness. But we're going to keep it to sports. We're going to stick to sports here in this episode. I want to talk about the breaking news of the new contract extension of both Kentucky coaches, Mark Stoops, the football coach, and John Calipari, the basketball coach. I think it was a little bizarre that both coaches got an extension on the same exact day. Usually it happens, a basketball coach usually gets that extension around this time, around the end of March, because that is when the coaching carousel is spinning, and that's the time for coaches to get hired and coaches to get fired. And John Calipari, it's no surprise that he got a contract extension with UK. Aside from Coach Mike Krzyzewski, John Calipari is the most successful coach of the decade. You know, he came to Kentucky in 2009, and then when he got here, it's just been pure out success for him. He's had a winning season every single year. He's made the tournament all but once. His overall record is 248-52. That is an 82% winning record with the University of Kentucky. That's phenomenal. And out of all those years, John Calipari has made it to the Final Four 4 times since he's been at Kentucky. So, with the potential to go to the Final Four even this year. So, it is no surprise that John Calipari got his extension. But to sum his contract up, John Calipari got a 2-year extension added on to what he already had. And that puts him here till 2024. This new contract has Calipari making $8 million a year. $8 million a year. Mitch Barnhart said in this quote, he says, John has achieved consistent championship-level performance at Kentucky. No one in America is better suited for everything that comes with being the coach here. Not only has he attained incredible success on the court, he is also a leader in our community and in college basketball. We have been blessed to have him and Ellen here for the last 8 years, and we are blessed that they will continue to call Kentucky home. It's a great quote by Mitch Barnhart, and I have to agree with him. No one in the United States of America is more made for the job at Kentucky than John Calipari. And I'm saying that because Calipari, he wins, which is the number one thing that you got to do here at Kentucky, is you got to win. And you can't just win. You have to go to Final Fours. You have to be number one in the country. You have to always make the tournament. You got to hang some banners on the wall. And Calipari has done all of that. So, and it's just a short amount of time that he's been here. And then off the court, he is a leader for the community. He is a leader for the whole university. So it's no surprise that Calipari signs his contract. It will be his. He is in his 8th season at Kentucky currently right now in the Sweet 16, playing UCLA. So we'll see, how that goes. He'll be able to add maybe another Final Four to his resume. But the big hoopla that I want to talk about is the extension of Kentucky football coach Mark Stoops. Those who listen to the show know that I love Kentucky football. I think we have a very talented football team. I think that our team is got all the potential in the world to do great things. I think that our team has the potential to be a very competitive team in the SEC. But if you listen to the show, you also know that I am not a fan of Coach Mark Stoops. He's not a good coach. He makes terrible decisions in the game. A couple times, because of his coaching, we could have won, but it's the simple things that he didn't do or did do that cost us the game. So Mark Stoops, they give him a contract extension. This frustrates me to no end because everybody at the beginning of this past football season, when Mark Stoops started off the season 0-2, everybody was wanting him fired. Nobody was wanting Stoops around anymore. He lost to Southern Mississippi, and that was just the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of Kentucky fans. They were just wanting rid of Mark Stoops. And the problem with getting rid of Stoops was of a contract extension that Mitch Barnhart signed a couple years ago before he even made a bowl appearance, which I thought was ludicrous. And the contract was just simply going to be too much money to buy him out. It was going to cost the university or the boosters tons of money. So he stayed, and there was really nothing Mitch Barnhart could do. He made a bad decision. But he went this year and redeemed himself and won 7 games, beat Louisville, went to a bowl, and now I'm getting on the internet and seeing that there's breaking news that Kentucky coach Mark Stoops signs a contract extension through 2022. It's crazy to think that this coach that everybody wanted fired at the beginning of the year, and the only reason we couldn't fire him was because of the contract extension, now he has an even longer extended contract through 2022. Stoops does not deserve this contract extension. Yes, the program has a lot of talent, it has a lot of potential, but under the leadership of Mark Stoops, that program is not going to reach its max potential. With a new coach, with a new leader, the school, the university, the program, it could. Mark Stoops, his record at Kentucky speaks for itself. Going into his 5th season at UK, he is 20-30 overall, 9-24 in his conference, a bowl record of 0-1. So let's give him an extension on top of the $3.4 million he already makes. It makes sense, right, to do that? Of course not. It is not the time to do that yet. If you want to give Mark Stoops an extension, just wait. Are you scared that he's just going to leave and find another job? What better job is he going to find than Kentucky? And people would laugh at me for saying that, but look at what he's got at Kentucky. He's got everything he needs at Kentucky. He's at a school that pays him $3.4 million a year. He's got the facilities. He's got a stadium out there that seats 75,000 people. He's got a brand new practice facility and workout facility, offices. He's got all of that brand new. And he's also at a basketball school, a school where there's not going to be as much pressure as there would be at an LSU or an Alabama or a Arkansas, because those are all football schools. He's actually at a basketball school. Now, our fans want to win, but the pressure is still not near as elevated as what it would be at a school like that. So I think that the contract extension is just a little ludicrous. I don't know, maybe wait until he wins a bowl game maybe. I don't understand where the logic of this extension come from. I guess the fact that he beat Louisville got him a 2-year contract extension. But I think that this right here, folks, has nailed this contract extension, this decision, has really put the nail in the coffin for Mitch Barnhart. I think that if Mark Stoops does not succeed this year, then Mitch Barnhart will be out the door with Mark Stoops, because there's two programs that you can't mess up on usually at a major university. That's basketball and football. Those are your money makers. That's what generates your income. Those are your two biggest programs. All the other programs, sure, yes, you want to make sure everything's cool with that, fine with that. But your two big beasts, basketball and football, the AD really has to make sure everything is exactly where it needs to be. And he's done a fantastic job hiring Calipari. Calipari is kind of the head coach, athletic director, president of the university, wrapped up all in one. And then you got Mark Stoops, and he's somebody who is coming into a fantastic university to coach football at and can't succeed. And he was successful last year with 7 wins and a bowl appearance. But is that really what we're satisfied at Kentucky? Are we satisfied with just winning 6 games or 7 games and just going to a bowl? What about winning a bowl? I think that what we should have done, or what Mitch Barnhart should have done, is he should have let Mark Stoops have one more season to see what he can do. If Mark Stoops is arrogant enough and cocky enough to leave Kentucky, if he is offered by another school after doing successful for a second season, then that's on him, and Godspeed. We're not losing much. We'll find somebody else. I think it would be worth the risk to see how that played out in his sophomore season of a successful season. And this will be Mark Stoops' 5th season at Kentucky. He's had one successful season. Let's see if he can do it again. And if he does do it again, then I could see where you would go and do a contract extension. Maybe not even the terms that you even laid out for him before he even won a bowl. I don't think that this contract could get any better for Mark Stoops. Stoops said after the contract signing, he quotes, "I want to thank Dr. Eli Capilouto, Mitch Barnhart, and the Board of Trustees for their continued support. When we came here doing a rebuild in a challenging situation, I said that full support from everyone involved was imperative, and we have always received that. We needed great commitment. We've had a great commitment, and we are continuing to get great commitment." End quote from Mark Stoops. So Stoops' new contract will pay him a peak of $4.75 million between 2021 and 2022. Only 7 coaches in college football are currently making more than that, according to the USA Today database. That's crazy. Only 7 coaches in America are making that much money. And then Mark Stoops is one of these people now. It's a ton of money thrown his way, and I don't think he deserved it. And I think this was a decision that's really going to come back and bite Mitch Barnhart right in the tush. He is going to really regret it, because I know, just as sure as I'm sitting here and talking into this new microphone, that Kentucky, once they start losing, if they do, I hope they don't, but if they do, then the fans are going to turn so quickly after 1 or 2 losses into the season. They're going to turn so quickly on Mark Stoops and on the program, and they're going to want Stoops out. And they're not just going to be saying get rid of Stoops, because they can't get rid of Stoops. Stoops is not going anywhere now. He's getting comfortable at Kentucky because of his contract extension. If you thought his contract extension buyout was high earlier in the season, it's even higher now. So he's not going anywhere. You got Mark Stoops, UK. You got Mark Stoops, Mitch Barnhart. You got Mark Stoops, Kentucky football. That's who we have. That's who we're staying with, at least until we could get up to the years to where we could possibly buy him out, because his buyout now is way, 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 way too much if that's what we were trying to do. So all that's going to do is make the fans more frustrated, make them more aggravated, and the fans are going to start looking at Mitch Barnhart saying, you are the one who made this decision. You are the one who laid out the terms of this contract for him. Ultimately, all of this was on you. If you can't take care of us, Mitch Barnhart, then why do you deserve to be here making the decisions? So, I mean, I think it's bad for Mitch Barnhart. I think it's a bad thing. I don't think he should have done it. And I think that Mark Stoops should have at least, I think the contract should have at least been held off a year. I think that we should have given Mark Stoops one more year to see what he could do. Because we've given the man 4 seasons to see what he could do, and he only had 1 successful season out of 4. So, you know, there's been a lot of coaches come into college football and has changed things in 1 year. Look at Jim McElwain from the University of Florida. When Will Muschamp left, who wasn't a bad coach at Florida and who didn't have a terrible season at Florida, but when he was replaced by Jim McElwain, he came into the SEC, first-year coach, and won 10 games, 11 games, played in the SEC championship. The very next year, he did the exact same thing. So it's ridiculous to say that it takes time to build a football program. It takes time to get things rocking and rolling to where you want it to be. Sure, it does, but it's not impossible. And Mark Stoops should not be given that crutch of, he's new. He won 2 games his first year. Now, I could see if this was a high school football coach who was making $35,000 a year who only won 2 games, sure, give him another year. Give him another 2 years, 3 years to see what he can do. But we're paying this man $3.6 million to win 2 games? You're going to win 3. You're going to get $3 million to win 2 games, Stoops? So, as ludicrous as that sounds, it's true. That's happening, folks. Mark Stoops is your coach. He's my coach. He's our coach. Get used to him because he's not going anywhere. Also want to discuss something else. Brad Calipari, he's been on the show. I like the guy. And if you come on off the cuff, most of the time, I'm going to like you as a person because you took a chance on coming on this little tiny show. And I respect Brad Calipari for doing that. He's come on the show, and I'm a fan of Brad. But I do want to address something that's been going on with Brad Calipari because he's in sort of a little bit of a controversy with a media member here in Kentucky. Ryan Lemon, who has also been on Off the Cuff, who I like very well, is in sort of a feud with Brad Calipari. Now, here's what's going on. Brad Calipari gets a tattoo. And across his chest, it says, "Earned, not given." And we all know what that means. He's trying to send a message out to people that everything that he's gotten in his life has not been given to him. He's earned it. And I'm guessing he's talking about mostly his basketball career, is what the message is he's trying to send out to people. So if I didn't explain the story, Brad's got a tattoo on his chest, "Earned, not given." Ryan Lemon decided that he wanted to put a "Earned, not given" fake tattoo on his chest, clearly making fun of Brad. Posted it on social media. It got several likes. And then people have been slamming Brad ever since then on that post, making fun of it. And it's just embarrassing. It's kind of humiliating. So now Brad is finding himself in a little bit of a controversy with Ryan Lemon. And I just think it's funny that both of these guys have been on the show. It's funny that out of all UK people, the 2 people that are in a controversy have been on Off the Cuff. Pretty funny. It says a lot about the show, right? And who I asked to be on. But both of those guys are good guys, and I like both of those guys. And I don't mean nothing. I'm not hating on Brad. I'm going to have to agree with the majority and say the tattoo is stupid. It is a stupid tattoo. Brad, nothing you got was earned. It was all given to you, sir. And it's time for you to stop arguing and stop complaining and stop trying to defend the fact that you are on the UK basketball team because you earned it. Because we all know that you didn't, Brad. Your dad is Coach John Calipari, and let's be honest, if your dad wasn't Coach Cal, you wouldn't be playing for the UK basketball team. I'm not even sure you would be playing Division I basketball. And at best, you could be playing Division II, Division III. Now, if your name was Brad Smith, for instance, and your dad was Brent Smith, and Brent had no ties, no connections, nothing. He was just, let's say, just a hardware store worker in the middle of Vermont. And you were basically just a normal teenage boy. Do you think that on your own merit, on your own talent, you would be playing basketball for the University of Kentucky, the school that produces only the best of the best basketball players, the school that only accepts the best of the best basketball players? Do you really think that you would walk onto that team? Of course not. So for you to say that you earned your spot to be on the UK basketball team, that's foolish. Now, you might be okay. You might be a decent basketball player. I've seen you play. You are a decent basketball player. But if Coach Cal was not your dad, you would not be on the UK basketball team, not even as a walk-on. If you were going to be playing Division I basketball, you would probably be playing for the schools that you were getting looked at, like Middle Tennessee State or EKU. Because on the show, on Off the Cuff, you did tell me that those were the schools that were looking at you. I'm not even sure those schools would be looking at you, Brad, if your dad wasn't Calipari. Who wouldn't want Coach Cal's son on their team? I mean, you got Coach Cal in the audience at games. You got a booster to help your program there, to give you money. So there's also an argument to say that the only reasons that EKU and Middle Tennessee State were looking at you was because of your last name. So for you to say that your spot at UK was earned and not given, that's just dumb. And I think the people at KSR and people like Ryan Lemon, they know that it's dumb. They know that it's foolish. So they took it to a next level and they're just kind of making fun of it. I don't think they mean any harm by it. I do think it's a little ridiculous on their part to kind of crush you the way they have, because they have such a big medium. They know that anything that they put out there on the internet is going to be seen by thousands of people. And I think that when you are in a job like they are, and on the level that they are, you should never make fun of a college athlete, especially for the school that you work, or they don't work for UK, but especially the school that you're supposed to represent. And you can make fun of other media members, you can make fun of other adults, make fun of Coach Cal if you want to, but don't make fun of college kids, because they're kids. Now, Brad, you're 18, 19 years old, you're not thinking straight, you're not thinking level-headed, not as much as you would at age 28, 29. But so, I can't, there is a reason why you got the tattoo. That's an 18-year-old tattoo. That's a 19-year-old mentality tattoo. If you were 30 years old, you probably wouldn't get earned not given on your chest, because you would actually be able to understand how foolish that sounds. So my message to you, Brad, is to stop complaining and stop trying to defend your earned not given status, and just embrace who you are. You are Brad Calipari, John Calipari's son. You are a multimillionaire. You have a trust fund. You could stunt all day long on social media. You could take pictures of your pool, of your big house, of all the new shoes and clothes that you get. You can just enjoy life being Brad Calipari. My advice to you is to embrace the hell out of that. Be cocky if you want to. Make people irritated. Make people pissed off at you because you are stunting so much on social media. That will make, if people are going to hate on you, which they will, whether you're a nice guy or you're a bad guy, they're always still going to hate on you. Why not just have them hate on you and just be mad at you? Because they're going to get mad at you if they see you flying around in a helicopter and going to Drake concerts and hanging out with DeMarcus Cousins in the locker room of, they're going to, that's going to bother them the most. If you really want to get back at the people that are making fun of you, just embrace being who you are. Embrace being Brad Calipari. I'm not hating on Brad. I do think his tattoo is stupid. I do think that it was a foolish mistake. But he's also a young kid. So you're going to make mistakes like that. So that's understandable. And all I'm trying to tell you, Brad, is just to embrace who you are. Now, Matt and Ryan of KSR, I think that you guys should be ashamed of yourselves for making fun of the college kid and also making fun of Coach Calipari's son. Are you guys insane? If anybody could destroy and take down the KSR franchise, it would be John Calipari. I mean, if it wasn't for Coach Cal, KSR wouldn't be the success it is today. Calipari, I will be surprised if he ever makes another appearance on that show. I will be surprised if Brad Calipari ever go on that show. Because Coach Cal doesn't need KSR. When you got people like ESPN and CBS Sports and Fox Sports asking you every other day to be on a show, why in the heck would he go on a local radio show? He's not going to. So I will be very surprised. And I will be very shocked if Ellen Calipari has not already reached out to Matt Jones and reprimanded him for what he did. Because you can make fun of people, but don't make fun of people's kids. And he doesn't understand that because he doesn't have kids of his own. So he doesn't really understand that emotional tie that people have with their children. Don't make fun of people's kids. You really want to tick Calipari off? Make fun of his kid. You can make fun of him all you want. You could probably even say something, about, about a friend of his or somebody on his staff. But do not make fun of the man's kid. And I just think it was a bad personal decision on KSR's part, and it's also a bad business decision on their part. Because I think Matt has screwed himself of getting Brad Calipari on the show, or John Calipari to ever be on KSR. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening to the show here on Off the Cuff. I am Adam Banks. Thank you for taking this little time out with me of March Madness to hear about the contract extensions of Mark Stoops and John Calipari, and also the little controversy going on between two former guests of Off the Cuff, Ryan Lemon and Brad Calipari. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Adam Banks. This is Off the Cuff. We will see you in the next episode.
Give me the ball and I will have to pass it. I ain't passing out till I'm asthmatic. I take a play and then I back to back and hit after hit, check the batting average. I take the work, flip it acrobatic, got a little time and a lot of talent. Do a little talking and a lot of action. Seen the competition, not a challenge. I lean, I move, I walk through and